Hello YouTube, my name is Hero and today we're going to be discussing, is Black Desert Online the game for you? Black Desert is a great game, but it definitely isn't for everyone. This video will be discussing what Black Desert is and what Black Desert isn't. With this information, we will apply it to my opinion of what kind of expectations you should be having when getting started in this game. Obviously, if you just want to play Black Desert for a little while, this video holds no purpose. However, I get comments every day of people looking for their quote-unquote next MMO, meaning people are looking at this game for a game to really sink their teeth into and spend a lot of time in. If you're someone with that mindset, this video was made with you in mind. Once again, this is all my opinion. I know. I shouldn't have to say that twice in the same video, but some people are actually retarded, and if you don't say it's your opinion 14 times, they think it's a fact. So before we talk about Black Desert, we're going to talk about MMOs in general. There are two types of fundamental core ideas that MMOs generally follow. These are going to be termed capped progression and uncapped progression. Capped progression is essentially the idea that most MMOs use, especially Western MMOs. This style of MMO essentially ensures that the player cannot go so far ahead of the pack. With every new expansion or content patch, a new cap is released that increases the limit. Once the limit is increased, each player spends time reaching the new cap, and once they reach it, they wait until the next content update, and the cycle repeats itself. This kind of MMO system was popularized by World of Warcraft and has been around since MMOs ever began. That doesn't mean this format is perfect though. While it does ensure that all players are able to achieve a level playing field, they are also limited by what they can achieve, which in turn takes away from the game's longevity. In these MMOs, you will often see fully geared players who cleared every single kind of content available in the game, literally hopping around in towns because they have nothing to do until waiting for the next content update. Usually games like this are more focused on PvE, and engaging PvE content takes time to make, so the players simply have to wait. There are few PvP options available in these kind of MMOs, but PvP is usually not these games' selling points, and PvP is usually only available in equalized PvP arenas. So the capped content format has its pros and cons. The pros are that it supplies the player with great PvE content and usually more fair and balanced, more team-oriented gameplay. The cons are that there are limits, so eventually a player caps out and has to wait for the next update. This is usually to help the casual players keep up because they don't have as much time to play as the hardcore players, which isn't a con necessarily, it's just something to note. Now, the other fundamental core idea that MMOs follow is uncapped progression. This kind of MMO is much more rare than the other kind due to what it entails. This MMO essentially does not cater to the casual player, requiring thousands of hours for the player to reach the quote-unquote cap. Because of this cap is so hard to reach, it's usually just referred to as an uncapped game. Usually, this format is used by games that are more focused on PvP content, especially open world PvP content, where the player who progresses further has an extremely high advantage over players who haven't played as much as he has. This format is used by very few MMOs. The most popular of the bunch that I can think of would be EVE Online. These games usually do not need updates to give the player something to do, which increases the game's longevity dramatically. The con is that the game it's usually bland without the inclusion of PvP. The PvE content is usually just boring and uninspired, acting as a means to an end for the players to get stronger. These games are usually far less popular than the capped MMOs, and that's because they are filled with quote-unquote hardcore players who make the experience for a new, more casual style player a bit unenjoyable, to say the least. And these are the two fundamental ideas of MMOs, and Black Desert definitely falls into the definition of uncapped progression. There are people who have played this game constantly since the day of release and are still nowhere near the cap. So if this is the kind of gameplay style that you're looking for, keep watching. If not, you should probably like close the video. I don't know. Black Desert's progression is uncapped. The time you put into it will make you stronger, and the people who put in more time than you do will beat you 99% of the time. If this sounds intriguing to you, then I have another two options for you to choose from: PvE or PvP. PvE games usually consist of raids, bosses, and just a bunch of monsters that require coordination, strategy, and skill to defeat. PvP games are usually focused on PvP. Fighting other players is pretty much the goal of these kind of games. Now, if I had to put Black Desert in one of these categories, it's a lot harder than I thought to decide. Here, let's take a look at Black Desert's PvE. Okay, pretty good. Now, let's take a look at the PvP. Okay, yeah. PvP wins. So Black Desert is a PvP oriented game with uncapped progression, meaning you have to put in tons of time in order to be able to compete with the average player. If that sounds interesting to you, then Black Desert is your next MMO for sure. If not, then leave while you can. Like, seriously, go. This game is fucked up, dude.